Hi, I'm Jerry Ford and welcome to my studio, and in tonight's mini class we're going to learn how to do reverse applique. So it's a little bit different than regular applique, although the principles are pretty much the same. It can be done on a 9.5 by 9.5 hoop in its entirety as one pattern, or if you don't have a machine that has that large of a capability to sew a big design, then it can go into a 5 by 7 hoop in 2 or 3 hoopings. So if you like a copy of the pattern, send me an email request to waltzquilt@yahoo.com and I'll be happy to send it to you. Okay, so let's get started on this really cute Easter baby bib. Okay, for this project, we're going to be doing the entire bib in the 9.5 by 9.5 inch hoop. So if you don't have a machine that has a large capacity sewing field, not to worry. You can actually construct the bib on a sewing machine. You don't have to have it, and then you can just do your embroidery on a 5 by 7 embroidery field, and I'll go ahead and I can give you those files if you do not have a large capacity sewing area. I have just simply hooped no-show mesh, which is a thin tearaway stabilizer in the hoop. I have inserted the pins along the edges here, and that's the T-pins, where you just take T-pins and you just insert them just right along the edges, and that helps keep the stabilizer from pulling into the center of the design. And I like to do this whenever I'm just hooping a stabilizer. Okay, for the bib itself, I'm going to be using just a thin terry cloth for the backing. I'm just going to use I'm using a cotton gingham for the front of the bib. And then the bunny the reverse applique bunny is going to be white terry cloth, and I just have maybe about a 4 by 6 inch scrap of that, and that's all you need. The colors I'm choosing is that I'm going to stitch the bunny in the light blue, and I'm going to stitch the lettering in this dark navy. The other thing you will need is you will need some bias tape or some bias in order to do the neckline and the strings for the bib. Another thing I highly recommend that you have is a curved pair of scissors so that you can dig out your applique. You can also use the duck bell applique scissors as well, or any really sharp scissors will do to help dig out the applique. Of course, you'll need the file, and I'm just using the Some Bunny Bib file, .pes file. I've loaded into my machine, and now I'm ready to stitch it. So let's go to the machine. Okay, here's the design. This is the large one, which fits in a 9.5 by 9.5 inch field, because it's going to do first the outline of the bunny. And it's a little hard to see. It's stitched the placement for the applique piece. Now, normally we have background fabric and the applique goes on top. You stitch it out with the tack down stitch and you cut away the excess. This time, this is a reverse applique, so we're going to be cutting from underneath. Now, this is a terry cloth, and I like one side better than the other. So I'm going to put it so that the nap is coming down. And make sure it covers all of the stitching. And I'm going to stitch the tack down. Now normally we cut right up to the stitching, but this is a reverse applique, so I'm going to cut away excess, but I'm going to leave at least a 1/2 inch all the way around it. We're just going to leave this because we're going to put the other fabric on the top. So I'm going to take my 10 inch by 10 inch piece, which is a little bit bigger, which is the front of the bib, and I'm just going to set it down here. And now I'm going to stitch color stop number 3, and that's going to just stitch outline of the bib. If you are doing just the applique, okay, At this point, you would do, again, put the fabric for the bib on top of it, big enough to fit the whole pattern you have for the bib, and stitch this way because you won't be stitching all this other stuff. So, okay, and now I'm going to just do the outline of the bib. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and switch to darker thread for the lettering. It's going to do the lettering first. If you're doing this without the entire design, that you're doing it piece by piece, this may have to fit into 2 different files if you have a smaller machine. The rabbit to fit on this side, it'll say loves me over here some, and then the bunny will be a separate piece. But let me know if you need that to be done that way, and I can help you if you have any problems. And you can always contact me at waltzquilt@yahoo.com, either to get a copy of the design or for any help that you need doing this. Okay, I've put the dark navy into the needle, and we're going to stitch the lettering. Okay, this is going to be like watching paint dry, so I will be back when it's done stitching the lettering. Okay, it's finished stitching this out, and now we're ready to do the reverse applique rabbit. So now, if you take a look at this, I'm not happy. I don't think you'd be happy either. I'm seeing a lot of puckering happening. Why am I getting all this puckering? Well, there's a couple things. Biggest thing here is that I contemplated not using this fabric because it's polyester. Polyester has a lot of problems with puckering. I'm thinking it might press out. I'm not sure if it will. What I might end up doing is, before I put the top on it and turning this bib, I might go ahead and just quilt all this down, because quilting can fix a lot of problems and ease in all this puckering. Another thing I have noticed is that for some reason I must have an odd bobbin, because it is like the bobbin is entirely too tight, and I want to show you how this looks. You see how the back of it is all navy blue? It shouldn't be like that. I should see some white because the bobbin thread is white. It's pulling too tight, and I think I've just got a bad bobbin, to be honest with you, because I usually don't have this problem, but I think that's what's wrong. So I'm going to let this finish out. Okay, I've put a medium blue into the needle, and I am going to go ahead and stitch out the placement, or the reverse placement, for the reverse applique. So it's going to do the outline of the rabbit. Traditional machine applique or applique, you have this piece here. You would cut close to the outside of this line, but this is a reverse applique, which means we want to expose what's underneath. So I'm going to carefully pick through it like this. Give it some, and then I don't want to cut the fabric underneath, and I have to be careful because this is a terry cloth underneath. Okay, and now I'm going to clip and get as close to this line on the inside of the line as possible. Now, being that I can't really see this too close, I need to take it to the table to properly cut it without cutting. I don't want to cut the pile of the terry cloth. You could also use flannel, but I will be right back as soon as I finish cutting it out. But you can see I'm just cutting along this outside, being very careful to get as close to the line without cutting the nap of the toweling. Okay, see, I'm not getting it so far. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, I cut it as close to this line as I could without cutting through it. Again, this is a very thin polyester, and that caused all that icky puckering. Another thing I could have done for the puckering too is I probably should have sprayed this with several layers of spray starch. That would also help alleviate some of that puckering. Okay, so now I'm ready to put in the sealing stitch. So I'm going, because this is a terry cloth, I'm going to cover this with a dissolve away stabilizer just in order to give it a better stitch out, because terry cloth has a nap. So I'm going to let that hold that in till it stitches around it. So now it's going to stitch some of the detail work. Okay, this is going to take a while to stitch, so I will be back. It's stitched well and good, so I am going to put my piece of terry cloth, which is the back of my bib, so that it covers all of the stitching. Okay, and I'm not going to use a topper because I don't need to. This is going to be seamed down, and make sure that nap is going in the direction. Yep, it is. Okay, and it's just going to stitch the top. It's going to leave the neckline open so that we can turn it. So let's go ahead and just stitch this. It's finished. We're going to go ahead and take this out. We're going to remove this from the hoop. This is finished. The only thing that's left to do is to put the binding on the neckline for the tie. Okay, now we're ready to remove this from the hoop. Take it out of the hoop. And I'm going to cut it with regular scissors about 1/4 of an inch away all around the outside. Looking at the back of it, again, I don't like this stitching, and that's I think is a problem with the bobbin that I had. But actually what I'm going to do here is, I think that's too much sticking out over here on the fur for the rabbit. So, and I think if I remove some of this stabilizer here, that'll alleviate some of that puckering that's going on. So I'm actually going to remove this. And I think what I will do is I will trim this part of the rabbit closer so that I don't have that much sticking out. You're just going to have to be careful not to catch the fabric below. You just want to get this excess bulk out of here. See, that looks good. I'm just carefully cutting it out. Having the curved scissors helps so that I don't want to catch this underneath, because otherwise I will have to start all over again. And sometimes releasing the stabilizer from behind will actually reduce a lot of the puckering, because then the fabric is able to stretch and move as it needs to without being inhibited by the stabilizer. So actually I'm going to pull out all of this from around the letters. And yes, that actually released all that puckering in between. So I'm going to go ahead and finish trimming this, and I will be back. Okay, I trimmed away most of it, and actually I took the stabilizer out from between the letters, and it really did greatly improve the puckering problem. So again, here I want to clip my curves, because I have a curve here. And another corner. Okay, and then I'm going to turn this. Notice I don't have the neckline cut out yet, and that's fine. What I'm going to do is turn this first, right sides out, and press it. Okay, I'm going to give this a good press. Okay, here it is. I've turned it, I've pressed it, and actually pressing it did press out all of the puckers. Releasing the stabilizer on the back really made a difference. So I just trimmed it away and cut in between the letters and cut close to the letters, and that released all of the puckering. So that's a good thing. Okay, so now I've turned it right side out. I have to stay stitch this collar. If you like, you can go ahead and edge stitch this down here. If you want to top stitch the edges, you can. It is not necessary. It might make it look a little crisper. Okay, so now I'm at my sewing machine and I'm going to sew right on this line where I have the mark for the neckline. Just going to sew it. If you are doing this with a smaller frame than this 9.5 by 9.5, then what you will be doing is you would be simply putting your own pattern for the bib. Okay, so now I'm going to cut it out right just inside the line. Now you could use bias tape in order to finish the neckline and the ties. For a baby, I'm not too keen on using bias tape simply because you can tie it too tight and you don't want a baby to strangle, especially if that gets caught on something or they pull it too hard. So I take about a little less than a yard, about maybe 30 inches of double fold elastic, and it'll fold in half. And so I'm going to find the center. Up there. Okay, and here is the center here. I'm going to take a little bit of glue right along the edge. I just want to tack it into place. Get my iron. It's right here at the edge and tack it. Will that work? Yes, it does. Okay, so I'm going to just shape it into place. You don't want to use a hot iron because this is nylon. So you don't want to hold it there too long. I don't want to melt the nylon. And I'm just lining up the line right here. There's a line right in the middle, so to give it a little stretch. And just tack it very quickly. Don't hold that on very long. For one thing, I'm dealing with polyester fabric and a nylon elastic, so. Okay. Okay. Now I can take this and fold it over. And just sew around. There. Okay, it caught. Okay, now you could either zigzag right here, and you don't have to finish these edges, they can just tie. Or if you like, do it. Oh, you could also do a zigzag stitch. It actually would be easier to do a zigzag stitch on here so that it would, you know, it would definitely catch. But I'm going to take this way and just go across just to be sure to reinforce the tie. And right over here. Okay. You might take a lighter and just melt the edges of this because this is nylon, so it'll seal. Oh, this doesn't unravel. So actually, we're finished. So this is ready to be worn. And what I like about this is that you can tie it on the back, but you also don't have to tie it tightly. And if a baby either pulls or falls and it gets caught on something, it's kind of like a cat collar. It'll just come right off. Okay, it's all finished. I think this turned out really cute. I may decide later to top stitch along the edge. I may even decide to quilt in the center through all the layers just to make it a little more stable, but you don't have to. Just send an email request to me at waltzquilt@yahoo.com and I'll be happy to send you the design for the 9.5 by 9.5, which is the whole bib, or if you just want the bunny and the lettering, let me know and I can send you those as separate files so you can use them on. Like this here could be, this part could be a 5 by 7. And then so this would be 2 hoopings, and then use whatever baby bib pattern that you have. I think this would make a really nice baby gift. It turned out absolutely beautiful. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com. If you would like a copy of the design, either the 9.5 by 9.5 or the 5 by 7, which is in 2 files, or maybe 3, I could even put them in 3, so you can put whatever lettering you like. Also send me an email request for the smaller designs. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell so I can let you know when I upload the next instructional video. Thank you. Bye.